Hey, I've been thinking about CDM. I've been writing some course materials on CDM. Not the most exciting thing to think about, I'll grant you that. And domestic clients. Like, it's generally presumed that domestic clients have no CDM responsibilities. There's a whole section in the CDM regulations about this where it says that the duties of the client, if it's a domestic client, the duties of the client are passed on to the contractor. The principal contractor takes on all the client duties. And yeah, that is true most of the time, but I suspect that there are exceptions to that. I suspect reading the regulations very carefully, and I don't know if in practice if this has ever happened, but I suspect that if somebody, if a domestic client takes on multiple contractors and then coordinates those contractors themselves, effectively they would take on the role of principal contractor, and they would also take on the role of the client in that case as well. I'm kind of thinking the grander designs type projects, you know, and you're doing a big project, you've got all these different builders, different tradespeople in, and you're managing the project very, very hands-on. I suspect that, strictly speaking, the domestic client does take on the duties of the client and principal contractor, and possibly even the principal designer. Because often in these kind of big refurbishments or big builds, or it could be a new build, you know, you've bought a plot of land and you're building your own house with some builders. It's like, you're probably involved in the design work as well. And you might be making modifications to the design on the day. Now, I don't know if the HSE have ever prosecuted a domestic client, you know, someone who's genuinely building or refurbishing, renovating their own property, their own domestic property. I'm not aware of any, so it's probably a complete non-issue. And I think that's a good thing. I'd hate to see the HSE cracking down on the average person in the street who's just refurbishing their property. They should be taken up with the builders, the professionals, frankly. But nevertheless, like, the way the CDM regs are written, it is there. Another thing which springs to mind is that the HSE do have a history of prosecuting landlords and property developers. And so, again, a warning to any of you who are landlords or property developers, you might consider your activity to be an investment, and indeed for tax purposes very often we argue that it's not a business, it is an investment. You know, we don't pay income tax on these things, it might be capital gains tax and so on. So but as far as the HSE are concerned, it's not a domestic domestic property, it's a business undertaking. You know, you're doing it for profit. It's not your own home which you're going to live in, it's a home that you're going to rent out or sell on for profit later on. So yeah, property developers, beware of the CDM regulations. Make sure you have some awareness of that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you later.